G'day and welcome back to the 3CIR podcast. I'm Joel Slate-Cairns, ex-army professional coffee drinker and guy who still folds his shirts like an inspection's coming.
And I'm Ryan Jury Delaney. Same uniform habits, slightly worse coffee. Good to be with you. If you're new here, we're two veterans who turned our after-service curiosity into conversations that actually help.
That's the mission at 3CIR. We're proudly founded by Australian Defence Force Army veterans, and everything we do is built on 5 tenets: courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, and respect. Not wall posters, it's who we are.
And it's why this show exists. We help veterans, emergency services, and civilians move forward, whether that's through recognition of prior learning, online qualifications, or just having a no BS chat that leaves you better than when you press play. Right?
Exactly. Today's topic is one we both know from lived experience and from mates' stories. PTSD, but not as a buzzword. We're talking about a major shift in how the science sees it, not just in your head, in your whole body.
The headline that hooked us, PTSD treatment must get physical. Experts aren't whispering that anymore, they're saying it out loud. And the study we're unpacking comes straight from Australian soil. Vietnam veterans took their fight into the lab and mate, did they deliver?
Published in the Medical Journal of Australia. That's the home turf for serious research. Nearly 300 Vietnam vets' health data across multiple systems. Backed by the Gallipoli Medical Research Foundation, University of Queensland, QUT's Institute of Health and Biomedical Innovation, and Greenslopes Private Hospital up in Brisbane. Heavy hitters.
The study looked at 2 groups, 108 veterans with confirmed PTSD and 106 who'd been through trauma but didn't have PTSD. Apples with apples. Same age group, shared experiences, different outcomes.
And the outcomes were rough. The vets with PTSD had more physical conditions on average. The stats jump off the page. 4 times more likely to have had a heart attack, 3 times more likely to cop sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome, 2 to 3 times more likely to battle gut issues like IBS, lower lung function, abnormal liver texture. That last one caught me off guard.
Same. Abnormal liver texture isn't exactly the first thing you think of when you hear PTSD, but that's the punchline. It's not just in your head. This study says call PTSD a full systemic disorder, not just a psychological problem. Whole body.
Miriam Dwyer at the Gallipoli Medical Research Foundation put it straight. We're a product of our entire body, and psychological impact has downstream effects. That phrase stuck in my brain. Downstream effects. You stress the system up top, it changes the current everywhere.
Let's make it real. Imagine you're back from deployment or after years in emergency services. Your threat system is an over-caffeinated guard dog, always on. The body answers with cortisol, adrenaline, tight muscles, short breath, shallow sleep. Keep that up for months, years, decades, and the body remodels itself around the stress.
Cardiovascular system? The pipes harden. Gut? The gut-brain axis is a 2-way radio. Stress changes motility, inflammation, even your microbiome. Respiratory? You're stuck in chest breathing. And sleep? Micro-arousals, apnoea, restless legs. You wake up exhausted and then you're more vulnerable to triggers. Loop City.
That loop is brutal. And I can hear someone listening thinking, yeah, I've been told to see a psychologist and breathe through it, but my chest still feels tight and my gut's a mess. Here's the shift. Psychological therapy is vital, but the data says it's not enough alone for a lot of people. Professor Alexander McFarlane, who leads the Center for Traumatic Stress Studies, called it straight, we've failed to treat the biological symptoms of PTSD properly.
He wrote in the MJA that the limited effectiveness of purely psychological interventions in veteran populations shows we need biological therapies, not instead of, but alongside. Address the neurophysiological and immune dysregulation. Big words. Boiled down, your nervous system and your immune system are changed by trauma, and you need treatments that speak their language.
And because this is a 3CIR conversation, we're always thinking whole life. Health, sure, but also identity, purpose, work. Vietnam veteran Tony Dell read this research and said something that's been in my head all week. Knowing PTSD caused his physical problems brought him comfort, like the fog lifted. He also said we've got an obligation to help people get back on their feet so they can contribute and be in employment. That's what he wants to see.
That line is everything. Employment isn't just a paycheck. It's belonging, it's rhythm, it's meaning. We hear it with RPL candidates all the time. You come in thinking you're broken goods. You leave with a qualification that says your service counted for something, and that shift is biological too. Less stress hormones, better sleep, more movement, better gut. You see it cascade.
We'll come back to RPL in a minute because I want to tease something. There's a simple, unsexy change you can make this week that helps PTSD from the physical angle. It takes 5 minutes. I'll drop it later.
That's the open loop. Meanwhile, this study didn't just point out problems, it called for action, and one of the most practical moves is training GPs to recognize and treat PTSD earlier and more holistically. GMRF partnered with RSL Queensland to launch an online education program for doctors. That matters. GPs are the first pit stop for most people.
I love that because we've all had appointments where you walk in and start talking about nightmares and you walk out with a flyer and a follow-up in 6 months. That's not bad. But if the doc also says, let's check your sleep apnea, your blood pressure, your gut symptoms, your liver function, we're suddenly treating the person, not just the diagnosis.
Let's break down some of those body systems and what this could look like in real life. Take cardiovascular risk. If PTSD quadruples your heart attack risk independent of smoking and obesity, that's a big red flag. So a smart plan might include regular blood pressure checks, lipid panel, maybe a calcium score if your doc suggests it, and, crucially, steady state exercise that's trauma informed.
Translation, move your body without spiking your threat system. Walks with a mate, gentle intervals. You don't have to try to beat your 20-year-old fitness test. You're not getting graded on push-ups anymore. And if you are, you need a new supervisor.
Respiratory. Sleep apnea is 3 times more likely in vets with PTSD. Snoring like a chainsaw, choking at night, daytime fatigue, headaches. If your partner has ever elbowed you for rattling the house, that's data. Sleep is mission critical. Fixing sleep apnea isn't glamorous, but CPAP changes lives.
I had a mate who fought CPAP for months. Pride, comfort, the whole thing. Finally gave it a go. 2 weeks later, he sounded like a different human. Less irritable, less foggy, fewer panic spikes. He told me straight up, I didn't realize how much my body was under fire at night. That's not therapy in a couch sense, but it amplifies therapy.
Gastrointestinal is another. 2 to 3 times more likely to have IBS and friends. If your gut's off, your mood's off. Serotonin's got big real estate in the gut. A trauma-informed dietitian is worth their weight. Slow changes, fiber, hydration, consistent meals. Some people find low FODMAP helpful with guidance. Others benefit from probiotics or reducing alcohol. I know, not exciting. But the boring stuff wins.
And nervous system regulation. This is my jam because it's where the mechanical meets the mental. Breath work with a physiological twist, not just breathe slower because Instagram said so. Think longer exhales to engage the vagus nerve. Box breathing is great, but I like 4 seconds in, 6 to 8 seconds out for a few minutes. Pair it with grounded movement like a weighted carry or gentle yoga, and you're telling your body we're safe now.
Quick PSA, we're not doctors. Talk to your GP before superheroing this stuff, but don't shy away from pushing for an integrated plan. And if you're a GP listening, that online program from GMRF and RSL Queensland is your starter kit.
Let's circle back to the research design because the skeptic in me always asks, was this cherry-picked? Nearly 300 Vietnam vets. Data collected in 2014-15. It's not just a Google survey, it's clinical. And they had a trauma-exposed control group. That's so important. It says this isn't just the wear and tear of time. PTSD itself correlates with more physical conditions.
The average number of co-occurring physical conditions was higher in the PTSD group, and the differences weren't hand-wavy. They held up even when you adjust for the usual suspects like smoking and obesity, which often get blamed for everything. In other words, don't shrug it off as lifestyle alone.
We're in Australia, so let's not gloss over the scale. 1 in 20 Australians, about 1 million people with PTSD, not just veterans, firefighters, AMBOs, cops, corrections, healthcare workers, people who've survived domestic violence and disasters. If PTSD is whole body, healthcare needs to be whole team.
Which brings us to how we operate at 3CIR. We exist at the other end of that healthcare pipeline, where people want to rebuild identity through learning and work. Recognition of prior learning is a bridge. You've clocked thousands of hours leading teams, managing risk, logistics, HR matters, WHS compliance, project management under pressure. We help you map that to nationally recognized qualifications. That's momentum.
I've seen folks finish a diploma of leadership and management through RPL and go, I had no idea I already knew this much. Confidence up, stress down, body responds. They start walking again, they sleep better, they cut back the long blacks after 3 p.m. Then they watch one of our videos on leadership or WHS, and suddenly they're not just coping, they're aiming. That pivot matters.
Speaking of videos, we've got a stack on our YouTube: leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management. Bite-sized, straight talk. If you're the kind who needs something in your ears on a commute, those clips are spot on. And if you want the deep dive, our blog breaks this PTSD study down. Hit the 3CIR blog and have a read.
Let's get personal for a second. When I left the military, I thought the fast heartbeats and lousy sleep were just part of the package. Suck it up. Then a doc flagged my blood pressure and asked a simple question: how often are you sleeping more than 6 hours? I laughed. He didn't. We ran a sleep study. Mild apnea. Started fixing it. Therapy still mattered, but now my body wasn't dragging me backward at night.
Mine was gut. Not fun to talk about. But every high-stress week, I'd turn into a walking chemistry experiment. I saw a dietitian who talked to me like a teammate. No shame. No, you must do this lists. We tested a few things. A month later, my mornings weren't a battle. Did that make therapy sessions easier? You bet. You remove noise from the body, you can actually hear what the mind is saying.
And for the folks who prefer stories, here's one. A mate of mine, Ambos for 15 years, used to say, I don't have PTSD because I can still do my job. Then he had a scare on a run, heart pounding, chest tight. He gets checked and it's not a heart attack, but it was a wake up. He routes himself through a GP, trained in trauma, gets a care team, psych, sleep clinic, exercise physiology. 6 months on, he says, I still have my memories, but my body doesn't ambush me every night. That's the goal. Not erasing history, restoring control.
And that control extends to employment pathways. Tony Dell's words about getting people back on their feet and into work hit like a truth bomb. Employment is rehabilitation. Not in a punitive way, but in a purpose way. RPL exists to fast-track that, because you shouldn't spend 2 years proving what you already did for 10.
Quick primer if RPL is new to you. You bring your experience. We help you gather evidence. Course outcomes get matched to what you've done. If there are gaps, we fill them with targeted learning, not months of busy work. End result, a nationally recognised qualification that employers understand. I've seen people go from stuck to hired in weeks because the right letters appeared next to their name.
And for those wanting to build out a skill stack while they're getting health sorted, our online courses are paced to your life. Leadership, if you're managing teams. HR, if you're pivoting to people operations. WHS, if you're the safety guru already. Security, if you've got that situational awareness dialed in. Business and marketing for the entrepreneurial minds. Government and project management for the public sector track. It's about momentum.
Let's circle back to the study's phrase, full systemic disorder, because it changes how you talk to your doc. Instead of I have PTSD so I'm anxious, try this. I have PTSD and I want to screen my heart risk, sleep apnea, gut symptoms, liver function, and lung function. That's not being dramatic. That's being thorough. You earned the right to be thorough.
And if your GP seems unsure, slide them that GMRF and RSL Queensland online education program. No one knows everything. Good pros study up. This is a moving frontier. 10 years ago, we didn't have this clarity. Today we do. Tomorrow, we'll have better treatments because of it.
Speaking of treatments, let's touch the biological therapies McFarlane alluded to. It's early days, but we're talking sleep interventions like CPAP, anti-inflammatory strategies that target the immune system, vagus nerve stimulation research, tech-enabled biofeedback, paced respiration, and structured exercise that calms rather than agitates. The point isn't to become a lab project, it's to stack small wins across systems.
A word on language. If you've been told to just toughen up, forget that. Toughness isn't white-knuckling through a broken sleep pattern and a burning gut. Tough is putting your hand up and saying, let's fix the entire system. That's courage. And doing the boring, consistent stuff? Commitment. Brings us right back to those 5 tenets we opened with. Courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, and respect. That's not a slogan, that's a treatment plan in disguise.
Camaraderie might be the secret sauce. Symptoms love isolation. One mate texting you to go for a walk can be the difference between another night of doom scrolling and a night where your nervous system finally drops a gear. If you don't have that mate, borrow us for now. We'll be in your ear every week.
All right, time to cash in the teas. One simple change that supports the physical side of PTSD: morning light. 5 to 10 minutes of natural sunlight in your eyes within an hour of waking. Don't stare at the sun, but get outside. It hits the body's clock, anchors your cortisol rhythm, helps you fall asleep better at night. It's free. It stacks with everything else, and it warms up your respiratory system without putting you into fight mode.
You do that, plus add one breath practice in the afternoon, plus a 10-minute walk after dinner a few nights a week, and you've started a biotherapy protocol, whether you realize it or not. Then, when you sit down with a psychologist, your body is already leaning toward calm. Therapy goes in deeper. Habits stick.
Let's also talk about the practicals of tracking progress, not in a neurotic way, just signal checks. Rate your sleep quality on a simple 1 to 5 scale each morning. Note gut comfort with the same scale. Weekly blood pressure if you can. If you start a new intervention, tag the date. 4 weeks later, check the trend. If it's going the right way, keep it. If not, change the input. That's project management for your body.
Speaking of project management, if you've led complex ops, you already know how to do this. Inputs, outputs, feedback loops, stakeholders, swap radios for apps, swap mission briefs for GP visits, swap AARs for therapy notes. Same skills. You're not starting from zero. That's the whole essence of RPL. You've got the tools. Use them.
Another open loop for future shows. We're going to bring in practitioners who do this day to day. Sleep specialists who understand trauma, dietitians who speak veteran, physios who don't think pain is a character flaw. If that's you, reach out. Our listeners deserve a bench of pros who get it.
And if you're listening as a family member, here's your role. Instead of saying, try harder, say, let's try smarter. Offer to go for a morning walk with them to get that light. Help track the sleep study appointment. Ask how their gut's feeling without making it weird. Celebrate the tiny wins. The day someone sleeps 1 hour more is worth a high five.
Before we wind down, I want to honor the Vietnam veterans who put their bodies on the line again to produce this research. It takes guts to be studied. It takes generosity to share the ugly parts. They've given us a map. We just have to follow it.
And a nod to Greenslopes Private Hospital, the University of Queensland, QUT's Institute of Health and Biomedical Innovation, and GMRF, proper collaboration. That's how you move the needle.
If you want to read more, hit the 3CIR blog. We'll keep pointing you toward resources that aren't fluff. And if this episode stirred something and you're ready to start the career side of your rehab, jump on 3CIR, explore RPL, and check our videos on leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, and project management. Stack skills, reduce stress, win the day.
Quick recap so your brain leaves with anchors. PTSD is a whole body condition. The study with Vietnam veterans showed higher rates of heart attacks, sleep apnea, restless legs, gut issues, reduced lung function, abnormal liver texture. That means treatment must be holistic. Psych plus bio. GPs need to get better at spotting and treating it. There's a new online program for that from GMRF and RSL Queensland. And for life beyond the clinic, RPL can rebuild purpose faster than you think.
And you don't have to do it alone. This show is built on camaraderie for a reason. Let us be the voice in your ear that says, keep going. You're not broken, you're adaptive. We're just giving your body new orders.
Next week, we're switching gears but keeping the energy. Elon Musk once said he could fix South Australia's power network in 100 days or it's free. We're unpacking that challenge mindset. What can veterans and emergency services folks learn from audacious deadlines, big tech promises, and delivery under pressure? It'll be a ripper.
Bring your curiosity and your skepticism. We'll bring the coffee and the banter. In the meantime, get some morning light, book that GP chat, and if you've been sitting on an RPL assessment, this is your nudge.
You know what I mean? Tiny steps. Stack them. See you soon.
Take care of the whole system. We'll be here when you hit play again.